YouTube Dan Otto here, and we are less than a week away from the new season of GBL. And with this new season, it's not that we've been promised move updates, but Niantic has said that they have not done move updates because they wanted to wait for World Championships to finish. Well, World Championships has finished. We've had 3 seasons now, 2.5 seasons of no move updates. So I'm almost guaranteeing you there will be new move updates. Now, I'm going to start speculating what those move updates are and why I think they are the way they are. But to do that, first we need to actually just look at all the different leagues. And I'm going to hide my face here for a second here. So no, you can still sort of see me. I got the top 20 PV Poke rank for Great League and Ultra League on the screen right now. And you're going to notice a couple things about the Pokemon we're going to talk about and why so. So Registeel, 1 in both, obviously. Swampert, 3 and 6 in Great League and 4 and 8 in Ultra League. Galarian Stunfisk at 2 and 13. Walrein at 4 and 11 Great League and 2 and 5 in Ultra League. Trevenant at 5 and 3 in Great League and Ultra League respectively. Scrafty at 7 and 11. Is there any other doubles on here? Well, the Nidoqueen, we're going to talk about Nidoqueen at 16, 17 in the Great League. I think those are the main ones I talked about, right? So when you're playing these leagues, when we talk about the meta being stale, I always say in my Great League videos, you need to build for Registeel, Galarian Stunfisk, Trevenant, to a certain extent, Bastiodon in the Great League, because you need to deal with those, and it's the same thing with Ultra League. Like you need Registeel, Walrein, like they're just everywhere. So let's talk about nerfs that I expect, and we're going to go through talking about first Registeel. So Registeel here are the stats for the moves that Registeel has. Zap Cannon broke Registeel. So before Zap Cannon, the normal moveset was Focus Blast and Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon just kind of not made it less useful, but there's just certain Pokemon that you just could not really throw much at in terms of like flyers and like steals you have still at the fighting. But like the thing is, there's two issues with Registeel, in my opinion. The first one is the lock on. As you can see there, we don't care about damage. Lock on is just for energy, right? So half a turn is 5 energy. So energy per second is 10 per second. So when you start looking at these like boom type moves, that only takes 75 energy. So the two moves you run with are Focus Blast and Zap Cannon, right? 75 energy and 80 energy for both for 150 damage, which is like super high damage per energy. Like these are just nuke of moves, which is why like almost any move you land unless it's like resisted is almost one-shotting Pokemon. So the fact that you're getting to these moves so quick with like that's 7.5 seconds to 8 seconds to get to these moves. That's like it's not fast, but it's pretty fast. It's very fast for nuke type moves, right? So one option is to lower the energy per second on lock on. Maybe make it like a 9 energy per second. Not like a significant amount, but like knock it down a bit. So that way you can keep these two nuke of moves. Like they can't take Zap Cannon away. You cannot take a move away after doing iterates. So if you're going to keep these moves, lower the amount of energy it takes to get there. The second option is people are having problems with Zap Cannon because 150 damage is a ton of damage, but also guaranteed lower attack. So people they're shielding ones if they need to, lowering the attack, and then you're in trouble. So one option is if you don't want to get rid of that fully, move it down from 100% to 50%, maybe less. Zap Cannon isn't used by a ton of Pokemon, so you could increase the damage. You could reduce the damage or increase the energy, or get rid of the 100%, but 100% guaranteed attack lower. You can do a combo of that because Zap Cannon is not used on a ton of Pokemon, so it doesn't affect it, which we're going to start getting into like Shadow Claw encounter and stuff like that. So Registeel will get a nerf. What combo? Some combo of those two moves. Walrein. So Walrein's an interesting one because Powder Snow, if you look at its basic stats, energy per second is 8 and damage per second is 6. So that's not unreasonable. 8 energy per second is somewhat fast, but it's not like Lock On, right? It's not 10. But it's kind of fast. Where the problem is you go to Icicle Spear. And Icicle Spear was this community move, 35 energy for 60 damage for a damage per energy of 2.06. You should not have that high of energy, damage per energy, at that low of energy. You're higher, as you can see, like Blizzard at 2.24, Earthquake at 1.85. Like I'm fine with higher damage per energy the higher energy cost. The fact that it's 35 energy is a problem, and 60 damage is way too high. So one of two things are going to happen with Icicle Spear. You can't change Powder Snow, in my opinion, because you've already nerfed Weather Ball. So if you nerf Powder Snow, you are going to negatively affect Pokemon like a Ninetales and a Bomb of Snow, right? So you have to go after Icicle Spear. So it's going to be damage reduction or energy increase. My guess is an energy increase because the problem with this main is that it's its spamminess. So my guess for Walrein is you're going to see an increase in energy cost for Icicle Spear, which will lower, again, this is to nerf Reggie and to nerf Walrein so far. Now let's talk Nidoqueen. Because Nidoqueen is Poison Jab 7 energy per second with 8.4 damage per second and guarantees to lower the defense. And the Poison Fang is 35 energy for 40 damage. So personally, I am okay with the Poison Fang because the damage per energy is not much. It's really just, it's kind of like a bait move. Like if you know they're throwing a Poison Fang, you're almost never shielding the Poison Fang, right? It's the fact that it lowers your defense, and then the Poison Jab just doesn't go to town because 7 damage per, like 8.4 per second. Yeah, 8.4 damage per second is so high. So once you lower your opponent's defense and just able to spam something that goes 8.4 damage per second is way too high. So they need to nerf, in my opinion, Poison Jab. And you nerf that by either you can reduce the energy per second. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's the damage per second. I think it's once you run that combo of lowering the defense of your opponent, and then you can just hit them with that damage per second. I think it's the damage per second issue. So I expect if Nidoqueen's going to get a nerf, I would expect the Poison Jab to lower the damage per second. They've already buffed it, but I think they buffed it too high in one direction, so they need to lower it. So now we're going to talk about 4 moves, in my opinion, that make some of these Pokemon just top meta. And I've got counter on here, and I don't know why I brought up this is Machamp's, but that's okay. We're looking at counter, which will reflect on Scrafty and Obstagoon and Vigoroth and all of them, right? So the damage is 9.6 damage per second with an okay energy second of 7, right? So that combo right there is why counter is one of the sort of OP moves. People have been asking for counter nerf for a while now. Why I don't think they've nerfed it is for 2 reasons. One, there are a lot of things that resist counter. Psychic and Ghost, and there's so much Psychic and Ghost in the meta. So you can have a fighter that just automatically gets walled for it. The second thing is, outside of Scrafty and Obstagoon to a certain extent, which is now a bit bulky, your Machamps, Sirfetch'd, Escavs are all pretty glassy, right? So if you nerf their damage per second on a glassy Pokemon, it makes them not unusable, but it would knock a significant amount of Pokemon down a notch. So you can't just like counter, you can't just think of like Scrafty is the top one, so I have to lower its damage per second. Obstagoon now has a community, so I have to lower its damage per second. You gotta also think like if I'm gonna lower the counter damage per second, I'm also gonna affect like Vigoroth is already like I'm sort of iffy safe swap now. Like you're just gonna like make that thing significant. Surfetch is fun, but it's super glassy. You need an advantage with the counter. Lucario, same thing. Like all these Pokemon that are counter users, counter is a tough move in most situations where you can just like counter down. And then like Shadow Machamp, just like Shadow Machamp and like resisted moves is still a beast. But I think like if to nerf counter, if they're gonna nerf counter, the damage per second can't go down too much. It can't go down like a full like 8.6 or something like that. It's gonna have to go down like half is my guess. If they nerf it, I don't think they will, in my opinion. But now we get into what I think is one of the best moves in the game, Shadow Claw. And people say like if you nerf Walrein and then if you nerf Registeel, then Sableye is already the best in the game. It just becomes stronger. And Trevenant's already one of the best. Like that sort of gets a little bit of a boost too. And so I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, energy, so damage per second is 7.2 and energy per second is 8. And these moves on it are not, oh, I don't even have, I guess I have the return off. So if you go return down there, it's like 150. It's a big damage, but it takes a while to get to. And then you're running foul play 45 energy for 70 damage. It's 1.87, which is again, high in my opinion for damage per energy per foul play. So can you nerf Shadow Claw? There's not a ton of Pokemon that have Shadow Claw, right? There's like those two that I mentioned. Thinking off the top of my head, there's Mew, there's Cofagrigus, right? So can you nerf it? Yes. What would I nerf if I was going to nerf anything? I would nerf the energy per second. 7.2 damage per second is not too bad. 8 energy per second is a lot. And just that combo of like an okay amount of damage with fast energy generation that gets them to like spam the foul place makes Sableye and makes Trevenant beasts. So if you're gonna nerf Shadow Claw, sorry if you hear rumbling, my kid's playing with something upstairs. So if you're gonna nerf those, you have to, I think in my opinion, probably do the energy there. Charm. Is Charm gonna get nerfed? No, in my opinion. I think they'll just buff other moves like other moves because damage per second is 12.8. Would you look at that as that's insane? How can I have so much damage per second? The problem is how easily it gets walled, right? If you have a Charmer come in with that and you have a Skarmory, a Registeel, a Bastiodon, a Nidoqueen, any poison type on it, they're done. And because Charm is such a slow 4 energy per second move, right? And for the most part, outside of the Weather Ball that you can throw on Ninetales, the majority of those moves take like 8 or 9 charms to get to any sort of move that they can throw with these other Pokemon, like Dazzling Gleam and stuff like that. So I don't think Charm is going to get a nerf because yes, it can be overpowering in some situations, but it can just get too easily walled. And like if you get like a charm, like I've had this multiple times. I have my Kanto Ninetales run into a charm Ninetales on the lead. And it's just like that's game over. There's nothing they can do there. And same thing, you run the Skarmory. Like so I don't think that charm is gonna get a nerf as much as people want it to get a nerf. And the last thing we want to talk about is the Mud Shot. Oh, that's not it. Mud Shot. So I have two Pokemon here. I have Swampert on the left, and I have Galarian Stunfisk on the right. So Mudshot obviously is not a damage move. 3.6 is nothing, but it's not. We're not doing the damage here. We're doing the energy per second, and that's 9. So the question is, why are these two Pokemon just so powerful in both leagues? Like Swampert's on the top like 6 multiple times, and Galarian Stunfisk same thing as well. And it's because these first sort of moves. It's because two things here. So obviously Swampert 40 energy to get a Hydro Cannon is insane when you have a 9 energy per second to get to the move. So 2.4, again, I hate these moves that have such a high DPE that are so low energy. So only having 40 energy to get a 2.4 damage per energy is insane, which is why Swampert is insane. And having just like the single grass weakness makes it tough. And over here, the Rock Slide, people say Rock Slide is like too much of a damage move. For 45 energy to have the 75 is not insane in my opinion. Like the Earthquake Nuke at 65 energy, again, 65 is not insignificant to get to, but that's still going to take at 9 energy per second, 7.5 seconds to get to an Earthquake, but 2.2, like it is a lot of damage. Uh, so you do one of two things. You either have to nerf Hydro Cannon a bit. Again, there's not a ton with Hydro Cannon in it yet. You're going to nerf Blastoise, which is rarely meta. You're going to nerf Samurott, which is okay. So that would mostly just affect, oh, Empoleon. Empoleon's has a chance, like Waterfall Empoleon is, Waterfall Hydro Cannon Empoleon is pretty decent in some metas. So you could increase the energy or reduce the damage on Hydro Cannon. Or if Mudshot is your issue, I don't think I would nerf it too much, but you could lower the energy per second there. So those are the potential options I see. It's a lot harder to guess the buffs. A lot of people have mentioned poison. I agree, poison is like such a bad, even in like getting like Galvantula. Like I'm trying to think like the top poison Pokemon, and all of them like Galvantula, and it's just like a lot of these bug moves are slow to get to, and they only hit like okay. So you could buff some bug type moves. Trying to think what else other moves in the game that need buffing. Like I look through your comments, a lot of you talked about like these are the main ones that I mentioned that you guys are talking about. You mentioned Mudshot, you mentioned Shadow Claw, you mentioned like all the things that you see in every single game because the meta is so fixed. Um, so that yeah, we'll see. I will cover the new info when the season comes out, and more importantly, I will cover the move updates because I think we will get them and what that means for the meta. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think is going to happen this upcoming season with moves, and I will see you guys in the next one.